Are you tired of those power struggles? I get it. I hate those struggles as well. Let's explore how connection can be a real game changer. To start, let's look at the problem with control. Well, there are multiple problems with control. One problem with control is that it creates distance between you and your sweet boy. So rather than building connection, which is what you need in order to help him transform behaviors, we are actually creating more of a rift between you two. Now, that's a problem in the heat of the moment in terms of getting the results that you're looking for, but it's also a problem in the long run, right? Because I've never met a parent who was like, let me think about how I can ruin my relationship with my child in the long run. No, we want to do everything we possibly can in order to stay close and connected and in each other's lives for the long run. Strategically, control diminishes as your child ages, right? When your kid is little, you can use your power over him. You can use your size and your resources and your voice and your strength. Not that we want to be doing this, but I'm just saying it's possible. But as your child grows older and bigger, it becomes less possible. In other words, even if you wanted to continue to bribe, you're going to be looking at a Tesla instead of another hour on the iPad, right? That's just not going to happen. Well, wouldn't happen in my family anyway, and I hope it wouldn't happen in your family either. I remember when my boys became teenagers, and one of them said he wanted to take the car. And I'm like, no, that's not happening. I actually need the car tonight. You can't take the car. He didn't take the car. But I thought to myself, what would I say to one of my clients who came to me with this problem? You know, I told my kid, my teenager, that he couldn't take the car and he took it anyway. Yeah, that's hard. That's why we want to start early. But even if your child is already a teenager, we can build connection and change that. But my point is that I couldn't have done anything if my son had decided to take the keys and leave. All 6'3" of him would have gotten in that car and left, and there would have been nothing that I could have done. We don't want to end up in that situation. We want to end up in a situation where we've built respect and a mutual understanding such that we can have conversations about things like this, and we don't need to use control. What if I showed you how to build connection ahead of time to increase cooperation? Engaging in fun activities with your sweet boy is something that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but really makes a big difference in terms of his ability to cooperate more easily and more often. Just this week, I was coaching a parent who said to me, just in passing, yeah, I did X, Y, and Z, but also we just kind of hung out this weekend. Like, I didn't try to get a lot of other things done. We just had a good time together. We spent some time together. Yeah, well, that makes a difference. Just that hanging out and having a good time isn't just by the way. We might have to do a little bit to plan to make the time to make that happen, but the impact of it is huge. And by the way, you want to think about things that he enjoys, not things that you want to do. Or maybe a better way to put that is not only things that you think that he enjoys, but also things that you know that he enjoys. In other words, things that he's asking to do. Which brings me to another strategy, which is one-on-one time that you can spend with him, where you're actually naming it. You can call it special time. That's a tool that I teach in my 10-day reconnect. You can get that by clicking on the link. But it doesn't have to be special time. It can be any other kind of one-on-one time. But special time is important in addition to the other stuff, because it turns the rest of what life is usually like on its head. And that's important, right? To give him that opportunity to lead and for you to take the follower position can really do a lot to boost his connection with you and yours with him, actually. And this also helps to create cooperation. You will hear me talk about this tool and others in many videos, but yes, it works specifically to increase cooperation. Humor and play can also turn chores into enjoyable tasks, or things that maybe he doesn't feel like doing and you're trying to lure him into things that can be fun. So maybe the clothes need to get put away. So you open a drawer and you're trying to throw the socks, or he's trying to throw the socks and make them in the basket, which is the drawer. Get creative. Sometimes we're so serious as parents, and we have this idea in our minds that if we get silly or if we take our guard down, that things are going to take so much longer and that our kids aren't going to take us seriously. It's going to backfire. But in fact, 99.9999999% of the time, that is not what happens. The opposite happens. It brings closeness, it brings cooperation, it brings laughter, it brings smiles. Again, it doesn't just get the thing done, right? Get the cooperation, but it also makes you feel good about how you're helping your child, right? How you're helping him build the skill of cooperation. If you're at a place right now where every time you ask your sweet boy or not so sweet boy, your not so sweet boy to do something and he's just having a fit, I want to encourage you to grab the first 5 words in the link, because I will tell you exactly what to say when that happens and how to implement it so that it works really, really well. In the heat of the moment, again, use humor. Don't be afraid to use humor. You ask him to take the garbage out and he says, "I hate you." So instead of the knee jerk of, "How dare you talk to me that way?" or "You know this is your chore. How many times do I have to tell you to do this?" Instead of doing that, what if you got silly? So he said, "I hate you." And what if you say, "I hate bananas?" You're going like, well, what does that have to do with anything? It's like, yeah, well, you probably smiled when I said that. And if you probably smiled when I said that, he will also likely smile when you say that. So again, it's going to depend on your child's maturity level, their age and whatnot. But my point is, don't be afraid to get silly. Don't be afraid to be funny, to use funny words, to stand funny, to act funny, to dance, to put music on. Don't be afraid to do those things. It's going to have the opposite effect of what your worry is telling you. Sometimes that playfulness isn't going to work as well as you hoped, or sometimes it just goes on for a while and you're done. And if either of those things happen, you're going to want to try to lean into a firm, loving limit. That just looks like saying whatever the limit is, like, "Time to put the clothes in the drawer, sweet boy," and allowing him to have whatever response he has, but you're not engaging in play at that moment anymore. You're not arguing, you're not yelling, you're simply stating your one-liner about what needs to happen and listening to any feelings that come up until the feelings are done and he's able to cooperate. That calm assertiveness works wonders, and your tone of voice is really going to be key. Like if you're annoyed, it's not going to work. But if you're calm but loving, it absolutely will. I want to point out that I am aware that you are likely going to feel drawn into argument or debate or discussion with your child when you are trying to get them to do something. And I want to beg of you to let that go, to not do it. It doesn't work. If it worked, you wouldn't be listening to this video, because I'm sure you've tried it a million times and you would have had great success by now and no need for me. It doesn't work. So please save your breath, find just that one-liner, say it in a warm, loving tone, and hold space for him to feel however he's going to feel about it, because you can't control that. And sooner than you think, he will gain that ability to cooperate. It might take a little bit more humor after the limit. It might take a little bit longer than you felt like you wanted it to, but I want to remind you that this is a marathon, and what we're looking for is transformation over time that looks like more cooperation, more easily, more often, less debate about everything, less pushback every time there's an ask. And this is something that happens over time, but much more quickly if you follow these strategies. Now that you know how to encourage cooperation much more peacefully than you have in the past, I hope, I want to, in the next video, help you with how to respond to your child's feelings or behaviors that are hard for you so that you don't react and explode. Click on the video on the screen and I will show you how.